Good evening. This is, on today's video, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to learn acronyms that you need to know for the exam, and acronyms that'll help you understand, some of the vocabulary, types of ownership, and other like Trella and Track. So that's what we're going to cover today instead of doing vocabulary. So be prepared to do 15 to 30 minutes on your acronyms. And remember to give Facebook permission to let StreamYard post your name on Facebook. Or let Facebook give them permission to post on StreamYard, okay? So you'll see my name up here, YouTube AgentPrep. And when you give Facebook here, before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at streamyard.com/Facebook. And that way I'll be able to see your name whenever you join or you make a comment. So at any time, remember to make a comment or ask questions on anything that we're reviewing or any question that you may have. I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. And this is being streamed to our YouTube Agent Prep channel. And it's also being streamed to our Facebook group that you are a member of. Well, maybe if you're on YouTube, you may not be that you are a member. You may not be part of the group. All right, so let's get started. So we're going over helping you prepare for your Texas real estate sales exam. And this is Agent Prep, YouTube Agent Prep with Lillie Hendy, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. All right, here are some acronyms that are important to know. Because on the exam, on some of your questions, they may, this will be a way to remember some of the items that we're learning on the different books and on your review. And so by knowing certain acronyms, you'll remember the topics, okay? All right, hold on. I'm trying to bring up both the YouTube video, the live that I'm on here. Bear with me, please. Live now, so. Well, that's not working the way I wanted it to. Okay, so one of the acronyms that you may hear in other study groups are PETE, P-E-T-E. So what did PETE stand for? It helps you remember the different police powers, okay? There are 4 police powers. So PETE stands for police powers for P. Those are government rights to regulate. So every city, every county has police powers, and they regulate zoning and things like that. Okay, city zoning, county zoning, what are the requirements for building, what you have to do, and it costs money. So anyway, so the P in PETE stands for police powers. The E stands for escheat, intestate. So when a person dies without a will and no heirs, the property goes to the state as last resort. When they can't find anyone, okay, to prove that there were any heirs or any spouses, and the intestate, remember, within, without. So within, okay, within, so that's without, no will. So that is cheat. Some people feel that they're getting cheated, right? The last portion of the word is cheat. However, it's not. So let's say the owner, before they passed away, said, hey, the day that I pass away, I'm going to leave my property to you. However, it was never put into a will. So if that happened, it's going to go to the government. It was never put in writing. And in order to prove that, they would have to do a lot of affidavits. All right, and the third letter, T, that means taxation. Taxes for the public good equals assessment tax. So we are assessed taxes for any property that we own, right? So if you own a property currently, or your parents, every year they're going to get a property tax statement in order to pay the taxes in January. In other states, it could be November. And if those taxes are not paid, the property can be foreclosed on, right? So we own a property, however, we never own it 100%. So that is one of the police powers, taxation. Okay, taxes to the for the public good. So the E on Pete stands for eminent domain. That's the fourth power. So in these words, you're also learning vocabulary, right? So vocabulary to help remember certain powers. Then you learn the acronym PEAT. So eminent domain, government may seize the land for public use, but must, okay, this is a must pay fair compensation. Now, the owner may not agree that it is fair compensation, so then they have to fight it in court and do inverse condemnation. Because when the government is taking that piece of land for public use, it goes through a process of condemnation. They have to go to court and get a judgment in order to take control of that property, and that is called condemnation. If the owner does not agree, then it's reverse condemnation. They have to fight for it and prove that it is worth more than what the government seizing the land is offering, because it has to be a fair market value. So those are four police powers, okay? The four elements stands for Pete, police power, escheat, taxation, and eminent domain. Remember those police powers. How do you remember them? Through the acronym PEAT. Okay. Gosh, why can't I see the video? All right, now STUD, S-T-U-D. It's an acronym. It doesn't mean like it's a stud, a dude that's a stud, right? So STUD are four elements of value. One is scarcity, transferability, utility, and demand. Okay, that is what STUD stands for. So what four different elements describe a value of a property? How do you determine a value of a property? Well, when we think of property between a buyer and a seller, of course, the property value is determined when the buyer and the seller come to an agreement. However, these are four elements of value. What give a property a certain value? So scarcity means there isn't enough. So it depends on the supply and demand. So if there's very little supply and there's a high demand, then the value of the property is going to go where? Up, right? So price increases. So right now we're in a seller's market. This is December 1st of 2021. So right now we're in a seller's market. There's a lot of demand for homes, yet a small supply. We have low inventory. If no new listings were to be put on the market, our market would run out of homes that are for sale in a little over a month. That's not very long, okay? So every month we're getting new properties. However, scarcity is the S. It's one of the four elements of value. So it depends on supply and demand. If there is a lot of supply and the demand is lower, so who creates the demand? The buyers. Who creates the supply? The sellers. So if we have a lot of supply, but very few buyers, then the value of the property starts to decrease. Okay. And a seller may have to really negotiate to sell their property. In a seller's market, the seller may get multiple offers. And that's the kind of market that we are in right now. Okay, the second element, transferability. So that determines also a value of a property. That's a T in stud. Convey with clear title. So you own a property, or the seller, or you are the buyer, and you want to buy the property. Can that seller transfer it? Can they convey it? Is it clear of any debt, any encumbrances, any judgments, any liens? Right? Encumbrances are liens. It can be other things. So it has to be able to have the capability of being transferred from one seller to the buyer, because the seller is the one that signs the warranty deed. So they have to provide a clear title. And who does the clear title search? The title company. And then once the title is cleared, right, they search the history of the property. If there are issues on the title, if there's clout on the title, name changes, liens, other debts, judgment, taxation, anything, they have to be taken care of before the seller can convey the property to the buyer. So they have to provide, the seller, they must provide a clear title. If they can't do that, then the property has no value. Okay? I mean, yes, it has value, but if you can't transfer it because you don't have a clear title, you can't sell it. So that also can determine the value of a property. Third one, that U in stud, utility. So that's another element. So what's the use of the property? Is it for a single home? Is it in an area where it is land that can be subdivided and create multiple lots, to where that investor bought a piece of land, they're in the right zoning area, they request permits to be able to subdivide the land. So they may have bought the land for 100,000, right? And now they subdivide it into 10 or 20 lots. Well, it costs a lot of money to subdivide that land, and it has to go through the planning department, pay for permits, get an engineer to survey the land, and to subdivide it. That's a major cost. However, their goal is to potentially sell each lot for $50,000. Okay. So they're going to make their money back with the investment. So utility, how is that property going to be used? Is it commercial? Is it industrial? Is it multifamily, single family? Is it waste treatment plant, forest area? How is it going to be used? That'll determine the value of that land, of that property. Demand, as we talked on scarcity, demand, the number of people who want it. So that's the D in stud, demand. So how many people want this property? So if there are a lot of people that want the property and there's not enough, then it's a high demand. If the number of people who want that piece of land is low, then it's scarcity, right? There's low demand on it. There's high supply, but low demand. Buyers don't want that piece of land because maybe it's behind another property. It's a flag lot piece of land. It's wooded. It's going to take a lot of work, has a lot of brush. It's a lot of work. At the investment to bring the land up to their wants and needs, it's going to be very costly. So then the demand will be low. So that'll reduce the value of the property. Now, if it is an area, by a body of water, by the beach, by a lake, those are high valued properties. The demand for those types of land is high. So, and they typically increase in price, especially if you do more improvements to it and the market keeps growing. So any property by a body of water has a high demand. People love to be around water. Not everyone, but a large percentage. Or you have a mountain view. in the forest. When I lived in Oregon, people wanted a view. So the higher you could get into a mountain, it's going to be more costly to improve that piece of land, right? And you'll need a well, you'll need a septic, bring the power. So it's a high cost, but the enjoyment of having an awesome view, that increases the value and the cost of that property. So these 4 elements, stud, scarcity, transfer, is it scarce or is it high demand? Can it be transferred? Is it clear title? Utility, how is the property going to be used? Or demand, do people want to buy it? Okay, those are the 4 elements of value that determine the value. So you remember them through stud: scarcity, transferability, utility, and demand. Okay, the next one has to do with ownership, property ownership. We say TTIP, T-tip, T-tip. You'll hear it also with other individuals that teach real estate classes to help you learn it. You're learning a new language, okay? So property ownership, one of types, there are 4 different types of ownership. This particular type of property ownership is joint tenancy. Joint, like a joint, okay? Shoulder joint, elbow joint, joint tenancy. So tenants, right? Who owns the property? How is this property acquired? And what conditions must it meet? So T-tip stands for time, title, interest, possession. And that is for the property ownership called joint tenancy. It is for 2 or more owners that can purchase a property, and they have to, all owners must receive title at the exact time. Okay, at the exact same time, or same exact time. So they're all buying it today. They're all going to go and sign for it today. They have to take title the same way. So was the title inherited? Is it being conveyed? Okay, being transferred from another individual? Is it gifted? Okay, so is it being purchased at a courthouse, at a foreclosure, at an auction? So each of the persons, 2 or more, must take title the same way. Okay, so at the same time, and must be on the same title. Each person must be on the same title. Interest. So what kind of interest do these individuals have? Well, those 2 or more have to have equal portions of ownership at all times. So let's say you have 3 partners. That's 33 1/3 for each individual. And it's not necessarily partners, okay? It's just 3 or 2 or more individuals that are purchasing the property at the same time, taking title the same time, the same title, interest, and equal portion of ownership. If it's 3, 33 1/3. If it's 4 people, each one owns 25%. Now, do they get to each only use 25% of the property, or do they get to use the whole piece of property? Okay, well, they're going to get to use the whole piece of property, okay, the whole pie, not just a portion of it, right? 25%. So they all possess the same right to occupy. So all 4 of them, whether they go into a disagreement or not and say, well, this portion is mine and that portion is yours. No, they all possess the same right to occupy. So this is joint tenancy, and we remember it by T-tip. The acronym T-tip: time, title, interest, possession. Time, title, interest, possession. Make it a little song so you can remember it. Okay, T-tip, TTIP, however you want to remember it. But it stands for some property ownership called joint tenancy. Took ownership at the same time, took title the same day, the same type of title. Okay, they have equal portions of ownership. If they're 4, 25%, and they have full 100% possession to occupy the property. Okay, the last one on here is Maria. It has to do with fixtures of real property versus personal property. So Maria these are fixtures that are part of the house. So how do you determine what kind of a fixture is it? Real property or personal property? Through the acronym MARIA. And that stands for what? M stands for method. How is it part of the property? Okay. Is it movable versus immovable? So how is the property attached to the property? Like built-in bookcases. So built-in bookcases, those stay with the home. Those are permanent pictures. That's part of the real property. Okay. They're not bookcases that were just standing there and that you can remove. So we look at what kind of a fixture is it, real property or personal property, by the method that it is attached to the property, and that would be the home, right, or the land. Is it, what's the adaptability? For A, adaptability, how property is used specifically to that property. Pool cover. So let's say you have a 10-foot, 5-foot deep pool, right? And it's 30-foot long. And you had a special cover made for that. So it's maybe 20-foot wide, 50-foot long. So it has a special cover. Well, that cover was made for that pool or for that hot tub. How is it adapting? So it becomes part of the real property. If that pool is a sunken pool, okay, a ground pool, then that cover is for that. You know, they can't use it for anything else. So that becomes a fixture of real property. It's not something they're going to take with them. So first, you know, what's the method it was attached? How does it adapt? So we have light fixtures, right? So the light fixture has the wiring, and then you're going to add a light bulb, and you're also going to add a cover to it, right? And you can change the different vases or coverings of the bulb, okay? So that is adapted for that light fixture. If you take it off, it's not complete. So that is part of fixture of real property. So the relationship. So a relationship of the, whether it's real property or personal property, is the agreement between the parties as to what stays and what goes with the owner. So let's say there's one of the biggest examples we use is a chandelier in the home. Well, the chandelier is attached to the house, right? The method was that it's not movable. Okay, yes, you can remove it, but it's going to leave what? A hole and wires. So you need to put something in its place. It's not going to be accepted by the inspectors or the appraisers, right? It's going to be red flagged. So the relationship there, so let's say the owner says, well, that's an heirloom. All right, well, I'm going to remove that, but I'm going to replace it with another chandelier. So that is a permanent fixture that belongs to the home unless the seller and the buyer agree. So if the seller's going to take that chandelier, they have to inform the listing agent to post it in the MLS so that the buyers that are interested are going to know, oh, well, I'm going to see this chandelier when I go to the house, but it says they're going to remove it and add a different one. So that this buyer doesn't say, oh my gosh, I'm getting this wonderful, gorgeous, okay, expensive heirloom. Well, no. Okay, so it has to be specified in the listing, because if that's not done, then there's going to be problems. Okay, so it has to be disclosed and the buyer and the seller agree. If there's something else that the seller wants and it's a permanent fixture, however, the buyer agrees that they can remove it because they're going to remodel the home, no big deal. So, hey, they let it go. So that's the relationship between the buyer and the seller as to what stays and what doesn't. Another example is like a dentist chair, right? A dentist chair is a trade fixture, right? So who else besides the dentist is going to use it? So when the dentist, let's say this, the dentist is renting a property, right? A commercial property. And so they bring in their fixtures that they need for their business, for their trade. Well, once they leave that rental, they take those fixtures with them because they are trade fixtures. They were brought in. Yes, they were attached. Okay. However, the agreement, the relationship between the landlord and the tenant is that is their business fixture. Their trade fixtures, they get to take them. So it's actually their personal property. It's not a fixture that is real property. It belongs to the landlord. So far method, okay. Is it movable or not? Adaptability, how does it adapt to a specific property a specific item on the property, like a pool or a jacuzzi. And then relationship between the seller and the buyer. Okay, the fourth is I in Maria of fixtures, intention. So what was the intention of that fixture? Is the fixture built in, or can it roll away? Turn the house upside down. What falls to the ground is personal property. The rest is real property. So that's where we look at what's the method of attachment. Is it movable or not? If it won't fall out, then it's attached. Then it's a permanent fixture that goes with the home. So what was the intent of it? And so some homes, before, if they were going to be considered a bedroom, it had to have a closet. And if it didn't have a closet, you either install one or you can buy an armoire, but now it has to be attached to the home because that room is supposed to have a closet in order to call it a closet. Now, some of that has changed. So that one is going to be attached so that it's not removable. So it's not movable. So if you turn the house upside down, it's now screwed on, it's not going to fall. So that becomes part of the real property. So what is the intention of that fixture? So the A in Maria is agreement. So mutual agreement supersedes. So whatever is agreed between the buyer and the seller, that takes over. Okay? So Maria has to do with fixtures, whether they're personal property or real property. It's a way to remember to determine whether it stays with the property or it goes. If it stays, it's real property. It's attached. What is the method of attachment? How is it adapted? Does it belong to something else? Okay, like the pool or the jacuzzi, or there's other examples. Okay, a lamp that has the vase. Okay, the light covering. Those are fixtures. The relationship between the parties. Okay, if they agree on something different, then that's fine. Okay, so they have to come to a certain agreement. The intention, what was the intent of that fixture? Okay, so method, adaptability, relationship, the intent, and the agreement. Mutual agreement supersedes. If they disagree, and it falls if you turn the house upside down, then it's not a permanent fixture, right? It is a personal property that can go with the owner. But if you turn the house upside down, I mean, I like that example, and it doesn't fall. If it doesn't fall out of your purse, it's not part of the purse, right? If it doesn't fall out of your wallet, if it doesn't fall out of your purse, it's part of the purse, right? It's attached. If it doesn't fall out of the man's wallet, then it's part of the wallet. Okay. So that's another example. But the biggest examples that we use is a pool and the pool cover, a jacuzzi cover, because they are made, they are adapted to those dimensions. Okay. The curtain rods, and you have special curtains made for that. When I bought a condo, okay, they're attached. However, we had a relationship, okay, the agreement between the parties as to what goes. I said, hey, you can take them. All right. I'll want something different. So yes, it left some holes, but I was okay with it. So we had to have a mutual agreement. All right, deep C, the last acronym for today. So what is deep C? It is how to remember the bundle of rights, which is the best type of ownership of a property. Okay. Of course, fee simple is the best ownership, and that gives you the bundle of rights. However, we could also have bundle of rights when we have a life estate. You get to live on the property until the day you die. However, you cannot necessarily sell the property. You can sell the, I thought I had put my phones on mute. You can sell, besides it was a spam call. You can sell the life estate, however, you cannot sell the property. So deep C helps you remember the bundle of rights, which all the rights that you have when you have a fee simple, the best type of way to own a property is you can dispose of it. Disposition, deep C. The D is disposition. You have the right to sell it, the right to will it to somebody else, the right to give it away, and the right to transfer it, to convey it to somebody else when you sell it. So transfer, right to sell, will it, give it away. Dispose of it, disposition. The E is enjoyment. One of the E's is enjoyment. You have the right to quiet enjoyment of the property. So if somebody else is making a lot of noise, you have the right to say, hey, according to our homeowner association rights, you cannot be making a lot of noise. Okay. So you have the enjoyment of right to quietness. You can exclude anybody that you want. Exclusion. Okay. No trespassing. So if those people that are making a lot of noise and you're not enjoying the quietude that you'd like, and they're actually trespassing, you can exclude them. Okay. You can tell them to leave because it's your property. You have a right to that. That's one of the rights. Possession. You have a right to occupy it, right? In property ownership over here, joint tenancy, right? Each of the individuals that bought together have full possession of the property to occupy it. When you own a property, the P, possession, you have a right to occupy that property. You don't have to, but you have the title. You have the right to it, the warranty deed. So you have a fee simple type of property, which includes bundle of rights within the fee simple. So the C in deep C, right to use as you see fit, as long as it's legal. So you have control of your property to use it how you want it. You can't go start building anything that you wanted because you have to meet the zoning guidelines, right? One of the police powers, okay, government's right to regulate your land. So you may say, well, hey, I have 10 acres. Why can't I build multiple homes on it? Well, because they are conserving the area and they don't want a lot of growth within large acreages. That's why people want a lot of acreage, because they want to have enjoyment, right? For quietness, right? So they went and bought 10 acres, and the zoning there is that you can have one dwelling, okay? Just because you have 10 acres, you can't say, oh, I'm going to divide it into 10 1-acre parcels and put 10 houses. No, that takes away the right of quietness. That goes against the police powers, the government right to regulate that you can only have one home on those 10 acres. So when you get into, that's county zoning, okay? When you get into the city, okay, you have zoning for smaller lots, okay, multiple family, okay, apartments, condominiums in a gated community. So there are other rights there. So the city has their police powers, but then the condominium or the gated community has even tighter. So those are deed restrictions. Those are additional restrictions that are done. So whoever owns the property has the bundle of rights. When they have all these bundle of rights, deep C, disposition, enjoyment, exclusion, possession, and control, they fully own that property when they have the warranty deed. They have a fee simple type of property ownership. And with that fee simple ownership, they get all these bundle of rights. And the way we remember them is through deep C. Disposition, enjoyment, exclusion, possession, and control. Okay? So they can get rid of the property, give it away, sell it, transfer it, enjoy it. They have the right to have quietness. They can also party and have noise as long as they're not impacting the other neighbors, because the other neighbors can complain. Okay, especially if you're out in the county. And if you're in a community, there's going to be there's city laws that say, hey, at a certain time, you have to quiet down, especially when you're in apartments or condominiums. Okay. And then exclusion, you can exclude anybody from coming onto your property. That's a control of it. Possession, you have the right to occupy the whole property. Even though you might only be using this portion, that's where your house is, but you have a huge parcel, you occupy the whole parcel. Now, there are easements, right? So you have all the bundle of rights and you have possession and you have control of the property. However, the utilities have the right, that's one of the police powers, to access the property, to take care of the electricity, to take care of the water line, plumbing, power poles, if there are the sewerage system or they have septic tanks. So they have those police powers. So those police powers allow the utility companies to have an easement, even though we may have all the bundle of rights of disposition, enjoyment, exclusion, possession, and control. Remember, we can use as we see fit as long as it's legal. So when there's an easement for utilities, we cannot build on it. We cannot fence around it to prevent access from the utility companies to come and access those utilities. And that comes in with one of the police powers. So you can see how all of these start to connect in one way. Police powers connect, with bundle of rights. And then when you're going to sell the property, then you got to look at Maria. What are the fixtures like? Personal property or real property? And then what type of property ownership did you have? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have tenancy in common? You have ownership with somebody else, yet you're not married. That's tenants in common. Or do you have joint tenancy, T-tip, time, title, interest, possession? Okay, so these are all elements, keywords that you must know, and to remember all these words here on the right-hand side, looks like an English diagram, right? A sentence diagram. You remember them, we remember them through these acronyms: Pete, Stud, T-tip, Maria, and Deep C. So learn these acronyms so that you understand the elements. Because a lot of times we won't remember all these elements because we start mixing them, right? They're vocabulary, but how do we relate them? Through the acronyms. Okay, any questions? Oh, hi, Neelam. I didn't check the, is this on your Facebook page? Yes, Neelam, it is on the Facebook page, okay? It's on Facebook and let's see. Yes, it's live we're live on Facebook, okay? And it's recorded. So once I end the class, the recording will be in the Facebook group and it'll also be on YouTube, AgentPrep, and it's also on my AgentPrep business page. So you can access them there. However, the only place that you can access some of these documents that I'm showing on here, the acronyms, is within the Facebook group, the Private Agent Prep Facebook group. That's where a lot of these documents are. You can look for them under the guides or under the section files. Okay, when you're in the Facebook group, okay, let me hold on here. When we're in the Facebook group, let me show you. Let me open a new Facebook page here. Okay, so the document that I was showing right now, oh, okay, let me close that. Let me get it from this other one over here. Moving it from one monitor to another. Okay. So this is the class that's being streamed right now. But when we go into the Facebook group, okay, so this is our Facebook group. When you're in the group, you can go to guides. See, that's where it's being streamed right now. So it's got a delay here. Okay, so under guides, I have like 14 different guides. And when you scroll down, like there's vocabulary. The first says, what do you know about EXP or selecting a sponsor? There's cheat sheets. Here are the acronyms. So what I was showing today, the acronyms, it's one of these right here. It's a acronym. It's acronym 1 or 2. I can't see it from there. Okay, so that's where you're going to be able to access them, and you can download them once you click on them. The other section I was saying is you can go to more, go to files, and there's a list of them there. But I separated them and I grouped them inside the guides so that it was easier to find. So if you want to study vocabulary, here are some. If you want to review the whole guide, Texas Real Estate License Sales Guide, which I use for taking the national questions, the state questions, and the glossary, it's one of the sources that I use. It's right in here. Preparing for the exam, cheat sheets right there. Acronyms, property ownership. So in one of the acronyms, T-tip, we studied one of the types of property ownership. There are 4. Then here's national exam review, math review, about estates. You know, I mentioned life estate. Okay. You want to learn about estates, Fair Housing Acts, very important rules. I mean, acts, laws that we must abide, the contracts. However, this is one of our older contracts. It's not the new one. We started a new contract in April. The closing disclosure, which is called a CD, right? It's the settlement statement. You know, principles of agency. You took 2 whole books about principles and then some extra practice exams. So this is where you access all these documents in our Facebook group. This is a private group. We have 812 members. And so let's see, this is, let's see, we're on acronym. Okay, so this is the acronyms. And then I have another set of acronyms. So I have acronyms 1 and acronyms in general. Okay. So any questions? Thank you, Neela. Yes, awesome. Thanks for walking me through to yes, it does help because sometimes, you know, I mention it to individuals, you know, where to find them, and they don't necessarily understand what I mean, especially when we don't use Facebook a lot. You know, those that are experts with Facebook, which I was not until last year, I really got to know it. You know, we have the about section, and that's where it tells you a little bit the members and what the group is about. The discussion is where you see the recordings and where you see the live, which is this right here. If I click on that, I'll be talking. And once I'm done with class, it'll be there. It'll be recorded. And then you go to the guides, any other features, requests, which I don't really use here, and then click the more. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, so if no other questions, remember to like this page, like the group, and you can invite individuals that you know, but let me know, because I do ask questions and I want to make sure it's a valid individual that's going to respect the group and be studying and not posting items that are not allowed. Okay, because this is a study group preparing to help you pass for the real estate license. The YouTube group, when you go there, please, like the group, okay? Or I should say, subscribe to the YouTube channel, okay? Send me some love, let me know so that we can alert other people. Click the little bell so that you get alerts anytime I post a new video or I go live like I did tonight. And like the actual video, okay? It helps the analytics of my YouTube channel. That's how all YouTube channels go. So we're providing education information. And go ahead and comment and recommend to other individuals that you know that are interested in learning to studying to pass the real estate exam. Mine focuses predominantly on Texas. However, every state uses national and vocabulary, right? So anyone can study on this group for national questions and for vocabulary, the acronyms, that's basically all the same. So remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, visit it. All these videos are on there, and then like it. And so it is Agent Prep on the Facebook group, and on the YouTube channel, it's YouTube Agent Prep. Okay, with Wow Lillie Handy. That's my branding name, okay? And it's getting around. So again, study, study, study. Okay, later on, I'm going to be creating some other videos on how to help you get your business going, different things that you want to know, things to spend money on, things not to spend money on, because I've tried a lot of different things, through trial and error. I've spent a lot of money and letting you know, where should you invest your money, what things you should focus on. So on other videos, okay, I will be discussing that. So once you pass your real estate license, you can come back and learn about how to get your business going and things that you need to, a lot of times we don't think about all the opportunities that we're going to have. Real estate business is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, and it's best success. It's a success better when you do it full time. Okay, so how does one know they are ready to test? Anila, everybody is at a different learning pace, at a different level. You're never totally going to feel, I shouldn't say never. A lot of times, most of us don't feel like we know it, and we're scared, we're nervous. That's normal. You've got to jump in and take it. Okay, because if you don't do it, you're going to feel like you never know it all. We're never going to know it all. We're going to learn it as we are doing the business. So it's like going to school, right? You have to study to pass the exam. You study the material that you are taught, and ready or not, you have to take the exams, right? When you're going through school. Well, the same here. Whether you think you're ready or not, sign up for the exam, register with Trek, okay? And go and take an exam. You may find out that you could pass. If for some reason you don't pass, don't think that you failed, because in order to succeed, we sometimes have to fail. In fact, in life, in order to succeed in anything, we have to fail. That's how we learn. It doesn't mean an individual is a failure. So go take the test and see how you did. You just may surprise yourself and pass it. If you don't, that means you've got to go and study some more, okay, and prepare. And invest time, make a schedule to study every day for a little bit, 30 minutes, an hour, more. Individuals that have taken these exams that I interact with sometimes have studied for days, for weeks. So everybody learns at a different pace. Whatever you do, just step forward and do it. Don't be scared. Don't be hard on yourself if for some reason you don't pass. Okay, interact in the group. So, it is. Some of us take it multiple times and we persist. We're persistent. When we really want something, we keep doing it. We persist. Okay. And if we fall, we get up and we keep going until we succeed. Same thing with here. You're really going to learn how to do real estate once you start the business and you start networking with other people. You talk to a lot of people. That's how you're going to build your business. Okay. And there are a lot of websites, a lot of YouTube channels. Actually, YouTube is like the best channel. It's an educational channel, right? We go to YouTube to learn a lot of things. You'd be amazed at the information that is available on YouTube that you can listen to and learn. If for some reason you don't learn it from your broker, your sponsor, other real estate books, YouTube teaches it all. Because those who teach on YouTube, okay, those who are consistent, we're helping others as others helped us. Okay. And eventually YouTube will promote our video. YouTube will push our video if more people are interested. And we're providing valuable information because it's all about education. The highest places to learn right now is YouTube, right? It's owned by Google. So where do we learn? And we search for things on Google, right? And then we want to learn and hear it and watch it from someone. Then we go to YouTube. Okay. So you're going to be learning about all these different social medias. If you're not learning now, you're going to be exposed to them once you become a realtor. Okay. And you're going to be evaluating different companies after you pass your exam. So touch base with me. All right. And we can talk about the brokers that I'm with and see if it is the right match for you. Okay. So with that said, hey, keep studying every day until you pass. Don't wait until you think you know it all. Register with Trek. I mean, you already are because you're here. You received an email from me. And jump in the pool, okay? And you're going to swim. All right? So until next time, catch you later.